fans, Ryan Aho here, and the one and only Bert Lehman. Bert, how was the weekend? How you doing over there in eastern Wisconsin?
I'm doing all right, but just keep it quiet for just a little bit. Can you hear that? They're actually practicing at Channel Speedway tonight. So
are they really? Okay.
We're recording this on Wednesday night, and yeah, Channel Speedway is hosting a practice tonight. So
nice. So they are making some laps. Are they looking to open Saturday, depending, or?
Well, they're supposed to open Saturday, and the fact that they're on the track tonight means that the track should be ready. But unfortunately, there's a 60% chance of something coming on Saturday.
Yeah, we don't need to go there. We don't need to go there. So yeah, we typically do the show. We're going to be doing the show on Mondays moving forward. We were going to do it Monday. You had some stuff going on. We were going to do it Tuesday. I got a flat tire in my truck, and I get over to the TA in Baltimore. They're just north of Baltimore, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a flat tire. It's an outside tire on a drive tire. Get that changed, be an hour, we'll do the show. 9 hours later, Bert, 9 hours later, they finally get my tire changed. Needless to say, that crew down there, not going to get hired by any NASCAR or World of Outlaw Sprint Car crew. They just can't cut it. So bear with us. Sorry we're a little bit late here this week. Hopefully you had a chance to look at our Blast of the Past show. We took that out of the main show, put it into its own entity. Hopefully you enjoy that. But episode 174, brought to you by our friends at Zeuli's Race Engines. WISSOTA season finally underway. It actually started. We'll talk about that in a second. But one thing that we know for sure, when there's racing in this area, you're going to see Zeuli's Race Engines parking in Victory Lane pretty much every week from now all the way through the end of October, right? That's just the way it works. If you can't beat them, join them. Zeuli's Race Engines, your go-to for pretty much any engine you need if you're the guy that wants to win. So on today's show, Bert, our top 5 moments of the week. Show me the money, or maybe not. We'll talk about that. A little bit of who's hot, who's not. A little top 5 in super late model action there. I had a fan question come in. Are today's racers soft? We'll tune in. We'll talk a little bit about that. Our picks, some bold predictions, and again, sorry it's a day late here, but you can't know, people are people. It just kind of was a little bit frustrating. But let's jump into a top 5 moments of the week. Let's start there, Bert. And of course, before we do, a little shout out right here to Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. Again, they have, anything to do with lubrication, right? Whether it's for your engines, for your transmissions, for your gears, anything, grease, you name it, right? If engine assembly lube, right? They got some graphene stuff that they're using, and tires, right? They have the right products to help you get the most and more use out of your tires. Bert, the guy that founded this company, Buck, he's in the NASA Hall of Fame. You heard me right, NASA, right? Like air, space, right? So, that's a big deal. He's in the Hall of Fame for lubricants. In fact, he's the only company that's in the NASA Hall of Fame for lubricants. So that's pretty cool. That's a great testament to him. Also, Bert, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants has put together a little mini series for the Gen X late models. And they got a little grief over the name Gen X, but hey, they wanted to get rid of limited late models. They don't want to be called B late. So they got the Gen X late models. Talk more about that in the coming weeks. We'll give you some more details on that. But he's doing a lot. He's putting back into the sport. And the one thing he knows for sure is, what do we have to do to grow the sport and keep people involved? That's help people save money. Things should not just wear out, right? And these lubricants help things not wear out as fast. And in that series, Bert, that Gen X late model series, the tire products that he has is legal, okay? So it's perfectly legal. Well, the cleaner they have, it's called Aqua. That's legal anywhere. You can use the cleaner. That helps take the release agent out of the tire and really, gets rid of the stuff that's not really part of the formulation of the tire. It's more of the mold stuff, gets that out of there. But he also has some products to help fill those voids in and make a tire, instead of it lasting 1 or 2 nights, maybe you get 3-4 nights out of it. And with today's cost of tires, I'm telling you what, that's a great product to have. And if you need some information on the product, Chad, his number is 507-828-3536. He said, shoot him a call anytime, right? Probably not 2-3 in the morning, but maybe. He's a racer guy. Maybe. Don't do that, right, to Chad. But give him a call, get the information from him, learn about this product, and if it can help you, keep money in your pocket, that'd be a good thing for a lot of racers. So, Bert, number 5, okay? Number 5, as far as moments of the week, the WISSOTA racing season is finally underway. It finally started last weekend, Bert, out in Casper, Wyoming, of all places. I mean, that is literally the furthest racetrack away, right? In fact, I'll talk about that in a second, too. But they have 2 WISSOTA sanctioned classes there. They got Midwest Mods. They have Mod 4s. Now, they opened up, but, oh, man, it looks like a lot of people weren't ready. Car counts were awful. 4 Midwest Mods and 3 Mod 4s, okay? That's a little, hopefully that's not an indication of, what the regular season is going to look like. I'm really hoping not. Hopefully just people were like not quite ready to go. Midwest Mod winner Matt Heinzerling made the trip over from Spearfish, South Dakota in the 22. Incidentally, he's the only one that's got a win. He's your national point leader right now. It's a little early. We probably don't need to go there yet, right? But Mod Forsberg, the Silver Bullet, Dean Larson, a guy that I've gotten to know. He's kind of from the Willmar area, actually Pennock, Minnesota, right by Willmar. Bert, he drove 700 miles to race a Mod 4 out in Casper, Wyoming. Now, I'm going to guess. I don't know what the payout is, but I'm assuming it's probably 200 to win, 250. There's no way it's 300. But that's kind of a cool deal. He's like not about the money. He loves it out there. Wyoming's a beautiful state, right? He's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to go out there and race. He's been out there before, but when I saw the Silver Bullet made the trip 700 miles for one weekly show in Casper, Wyoming, I'm like, this guy's got the itch way worse than I ever had. And I would not have done that, but it was super cool to see him make the trip out there. But that would be number, I guess, number 5 on the list. So number 4, Bert, how about a little bit of USMTS action? Did you watch any of the USMTS action this past weekend?
I saw a little bit of Saturday night show, but that's about all I watched. But yeah, I saw that
modified hater again. I get it. I understand modified hater. Oh, it's all right. Just go ahead and admit it.
But yeah, Jason Hughes entered the week of racing with the points lead, but he wasn't leading the points when the 3 races ended.
He did not. Jake O'Neill brought home the Ed Gressel Memorial, $10,000 to win. Left with the point lead, and I'm going to go over and I'm going to kind of let's touch a little bit on what happened in the USMTS world over there. So just a couple little tidbits. So they had 3 nights of racing, Bert, over at 81 Speedway. Tanner Mullins parked in Victory Lane night number 1. Tyler Wolf parked in Victory Lane night number 2. And night number 3, of course, was Jake O'Neill. Now, Tanner Mullins is the first driver this year in USMTS action to win multiple feature events. And he drives MB Custom. Tanner Mullins is a Mullins chassis, not MB Custom.
I was going to say,
he builds his own.
He builds his own.
The next guy's in an MB Custom. But yeah, Tanner Mullins is the first one. And right now, Bert, there has been 9 different winners in the 10 events hosted in USMTS action. I mean, they're getting 50, 60 mods. I mean, if you're a good mod driver and you have the budget and the time to do it, what a series. I mean, Todd Staley's really done a great job. And as far as chassis go, right, 8 different chassis brands have won. So MB Customs have won 2. Tyler Wolf has won a pair of them. Tanner Mullins, he also, you know what, I think Tyler Wolf, Bert, I'm lying here. Mullins is not the first driver to win 2. Tyler Wolf is the first driver to win 2. When Mullins won, I wrote that down. I'm like, he's not the first. Actually, Tyler Wolf was the first driver to win 2. In fact, he won April 1st, and then he had one where he didn't win, and then he won the next one. So Tyler Wolf in the MB is the first one to win 2. My bad right there. But when Tyler Wolf won on April 21st, it's the first time any chassis in USMTS got first and second in the same feature. That's so much. There's a lot of parity. There's 8 different chassis brands that have won, because Jake O'Neill, of course, has an LG2, so he won. But Jake O'Neill has another car. I don't know which one he has out there. Somebody that maybe is a little smarter than me that's in the know, is Jake O'Neill running the LG2, or he has another chassis as well? Was he running that one? Might have to do a little digging there, because I know that he did get another car, Bert, but I know he had that LG2 for quite a while. But a lot of parity. On the final night there, Jake Tim started right up front, second inside, I think, spun out like on lap 1 and fell back to like 82nd. This is around 20th, somewhere in that neighborhood. Jake Tim stormed all the way back to 3rd. That's impressive. I mean, what a rebound. I mean, how many people would be able to keep their composure after like literally like going from the front couple spots to that far back? Jake Tim's got a fast hot rod there with that rage. We'll see what he can get done this year. So Jake O'Neill, the point leader, Tyler Wolf in 2nd, TP in 3rd, and Jason Hughes slipped all the way from 1st back to 4th in the points. So, I mean, it's tight. 56 points separate the top 4, Bert. And just behind them, Tom Berry Jr., a rookie, an IMCA guy, no stranger to victory lane in modified racing, but I think he actually won the first race of the year too. He did. So the first USMTS race of the year went to a rookie. I mean, this series right here, if you don't watch if you like racing, if you like mod racing, you got to get Racing Dirt, because USMTS modified racing is probably the best in the country as far as modifieds go, and they do a great job. So let's jump into number 3, Bert. What do you got for number 3?
Well, we got a 90-year-old who reached the podium, and I mean, I don't know if I will make it to 90. So to see what he's
you keep
doing.
Talking smack about modifieds, and you're not going to make it to 90. That's probably true. You're probably right.
So that's quite an accomplishment.
Red Farmer P2. It was the Red Farmer tribute race at the Alabama Gang 100 Talladega short track. And I'm telling you, it was a little tight out there. I'm not sure they were quite charging or whatever. But I was talking to my dad, right? My dad's like, he looked at my mom and he's like, that guy's 90. I'm not 90. I'm not even 80 yet. I can still race. And she's like, yeah, bullshit, she says. And I'm like, I call that a challenge. I think Dad needs to get a car. Here, I'm not even 50 and I'm not racing. I really feel like a quitter. Bert, this is a guy right here that if a person had an opportunity to sit down with Red Farmer and just hear the wisdom and stories, I would just, man, that would be incredible. Like, whether it's me or somebody, or maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr. needs to get him on his show or whatever. I mean, how cool would it be to just have a few hours sit down with Red Farmer and just hear some of the amazing stories from that long of a career? That'd be great.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, I bet he has a ton of stories.
Right. Your dog's barking at you, pissed off.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Your dog is a modified fan. Okay. Your dog's a modified fan, and right now it's probably going to bite you. Keep talking smack about it, probably going to bite you. All right. So here's a question for you, Bert. The cost of everything's going up. Tires, cars, chassis, shocks, entry fees, gas to get there, you name it. How much do left rear wheels cost for a dirt late model?
This past week, $50,000. Well, actually,
unbelievable.
50,200 and no.
Right. Yeah, 50,200 and change. So this weekend, both Kyle Larson and Bobby Pierce destroyed left rear wheels. Now, I remember a few years back when they went down to Bristol and, the high speeds and all that, they were shattering right side wheels. I don't remember if there was left side wheels breaking there too, but both of them destroyed left rear wheels. Larson was battling inside the top 3 and looked like he might have had something for him because he was really trying to carve the high side. And then Pierce had taken the lead late from 14th. Like, I mean, it looked like it was over. And next thing you know, his left rear wheel goes. But late model drivers, that might be something to pay attention to. I'm not going to say a chassis brand because I'm not 100% sure. I think I know which one it was, but it's something to keep an eye on because Bert, I mean, the track was a little choppy there in qualifying. And then, but from that point on, it wasn't like it was like super excessively rough. So is there an issue, right, with these wheels? I mean, is there a bad batch? Is there something? If you bought a bunch of new wheels this year, I'd be calling the manufacturer and maybe finding out before you have that same problem yourself. And number one, Bert, and I'm going to put this number one because I thought it was just super cool. It's cool when this kind of stuff happens. Local star hedges his bets, right? And fends off the touring stars on his home turf. Bert, what happened with the World of Outlaws at the 411?
Oh, yeah. Corey Hedgecock. He charged from, like, where was he running most of the race? Like fifth or so?
Yeah.
And then
might have been outside the top five, but yeah, right around that spot.
There's a late race restart, and he put that car, if that car is 5 feet wide, it was probably about a 4 foot 9 inch space that he put it through.
Yeah, and that right there shows, I mean, he's really good there. He's won a lot of races there, local type stuff, crate and all that. But, I mean, what a race by Corey Hedgecock to park in Victory Lane. 20 RT, right? RTJ 16th to 2nd. Too little, too late. Corey Hedgecock taking the World of Outlaw guys and saying, this is my house, and congratulations to him. I thought that was super cool. So, Bert, another thing in Wissota right now, I was maybe going to save this for the last lap, but so the structural buildings, Wissota Late Model Challenge Series, they've been putting out little pressers. They kind of have a loyalty program where drivers sign up to follow the series, and there's some different benefits and contingencies they get, and that list is growing. Bert, we might have one of the bigger Wissota Late Model Challenge Series that we've seen in quite a while. I'm pretty excited about it. I see some drivers that signed up to follow this deal. Kyle Peterlin for one of them, Cole Schill, Dave Moss. These drivers, Peterlin followed it years ago. Schill and Moss have never followed it. So now you're seeing a few drivers signing up for the Challenge Series that never followed it before. John Canta, he's going to follow it. So super excited for the Challenge Series. If you're a late model fan of Wissota country, it could be a really good year for that series. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to see that, drivers are signing up to support that, because obviously if drivers don't support it, then it's going to disappear eventually. So it's moving in the right direction, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. So speaking of following series and racing for money and all this type of stuff, I got a fan that reached out, and he sent me a question after Talladega. So Steven from North Dakota, he had a question. Now, before we get into that, Bert, little shout out here to buyraceshirts.com. That time of year, if you need hats, you need hoodies, you need t-shirts, race apparel. If you own a business and you need apparel, check out buyraceshirts.com for all of your apparel needs. They do a great job. Jordan Tollickson and his whole staff and crew down there, very, very good to deal with, good pricing, a lot of different options. And of course, supported by, he's a racer. So support racers, right? That's what we do. So buyraceshirts.com. But the question he had, Bert, is this, and I'm going to read it off here because he had quite a lot that he texted. He said, did you ever think there would be a day when top tier drivers just opted to stay home from a 50,000 to win race? Okay. Is that no longer enough to just ensure that everybody's going to come to that deal? Some drivers that stayed home, right? T-Mac, Ricky Weiss, Turbo, right? There were some drivers that didn't go. In addition to that, right, RTJ loaded up after a bad qualifying performance. Track ended up being pretty decent after qualifying. Jimmy Owens, Mike Marlar, I think Marlar loaded up after qualifying too, and Jimmy Owens didn't come back the second day. Not really sure about that. I mean, look at it. The Silver Bullet Bird drove 700 miles to race for 200, right? Ricky Weiss lives in Tennessee. It's like a couple 100 miles away, and he didn't come. Hedgecock wasn't there. What's your thoughts on this? I mean, should there be a donkey award here for some of these drivers not coming to a 50 grand to win race? Loved it. And then he put, thanks guys. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think it's a combination of there are more $50,000 to win races now, more than ever. So, okay, we'll skip this one, but we'll go to the other ones. There's more opportunities to race for that kind of money versus in the past. And then also, I think it's probably partly due to there really is no off season. So, you have to take some time off when you can. The Lucas, they were having a big East Coast swing this coming weekend. Well, it got canceled now.
Lucas season, they don't race anymore.
Yeah. And so, maybe they were, just rest or, just saving their equipment and whatnot for the East Coast swing. But I think those are two of the major factors that probably play into their decisions.
Yeah, I just find it interesting. I mean, that was a good question, and it's really, as a fan, right, you kind of wonder that because, the World of Outlaw guys are going to be at World of Outlaw events. The Lucas guys will be at the Lucas events. And if they're up there in the points in like the XR or the, the Flow deal, they'll be at those events. But then all of a sudden you sit back and you're like, yeah, 50 grand to win. It's like, good grief, man. That used to be like, that was the pinnacle.
Oh,
we talked about it over the last couple of years. There's so many 50 grand and there's like 400 or 500 grand to win races that I can see people going, it's only 10 grand. Not even going to bother with that one. But 50 grand, I mean, I'm surprised by that, but you're exactly right. I mean, people need some time off.
I mean, and they were racing in the Castro Flow races prior to that weekend, correct? And that was in Illinois or no, Indiana. So, you're in Indiana.
Ohio and Indiana, right? Because it was actually Eldora and Brownstown.
So, yeah. So then you drive down to Tennessee, but then drive to the East Coast, if you're a Lucas driver. I mean, every year we talk about which drivers didn't show up at the USA Nationals, which pays $50,000 to win.
Right.
They have a fans fund to pay drivers to show up at the USA Nationals because they want to get more national drivers at that race. So, I mean, I guess this isn't anything new that drivers don't go to every single $50,000 race.
And I think it comes down to hype, right? So if you're a promoter and you're like, well, if I pay more, will people show up? No, they won't. Okay. Not unless you do a couple things, right? So if you're a promoter and you're listening to this and you're like, well, how do we get more drivers to our show? Number one, make drivers feel like that show matters, right? The World of 100 is not the biggest paying dirt late model show, but it's the most important.
It's the most prestigious.
For sure. If you talk to all the national touring guys and late models and said, if you got to win one, what would it be? I think they'd probably all say the World 100, right? And that's just over, what is it, 50 some thousand?
Yeah, 50 some thousand it's up to, because they increase it $1,000 every year.
Yeah.
And if you look at the car counts for the Dream versus the World 100, the World 100 has a higher car count than the Dream does, and the Dream pays over $100,000.
Exactly, spot on. So it's that significance. It's making drivers feel like that race is truly a huge part of late model racing. The other thing is reaching out to those drivers, right? And maybe they did. I don't know that, right? But you take Rod Lindquist with the Challenge Series, and guess what he's doing? He's reaching out to Wissota late model drivers, talking to them, and seeing if they will support the Challenge Series. If you're a promoter, Dennis McCauley on the Wissota board has a Fastlane Superstock Series. He's great at this, right? He reaches out to every Superstock driver out there, and he basically talks to them and says, man, we would love to have you. If you can make it to one or two of our shows, if you can follow the whole series, we appreciate you. We'd love to have you. That's a huge deal. You got to be reaching out to those drivers and actually inviting them to come, and that'll really help increase those numbers. So that was a good question there by Steve. and appreciate that. So let's jump on to the next thing here. And so we got a little who's hot, who's not. Going to tie it into our top 5 here in super late models. Little shout out to our buddy Brad Parsons first. So Bert, snow's melting. I know they got a little bit more up in northern Minnesota here last week, but it's gonna be gone, right? It's gonna be gone. So the planting season will be here. So if you're a farmer, western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, you already know this, right? The right chemicals applied properly in the right amounts to your crops, to your field, is going to yield you the best results. Well, Brad has that. Brad has great data, great numbers. The people using his products are raving about it. They're saying, man, we've had really, really good results since switching to the products that Brad Parsons has to offer. So why not reach out to him, get a little information, and see if it's something that can help you? And how do we do that? Give him a call, 320-219-3542. That's Brad Parson. Now, Brad is a late model driver himself, racing a few different things. So if you're watching the show, you're a race fan, why not support a racer? And if he can help you have a more successful planting season, farming year, whatever you want to call it, right? Why not give it a shot? So give him a call, see if he can help you out. So Bert, what do you have for your top 5 super late model drivers as they sit right now?
Do you want me to go 5 to 1, 1 to 5?
Yeah,
or
yeah. You can go 5 to 1.
Number 5, I have Mike Marlar, and that's kind of based on his performance in the Castro Flow series. But he was running good prior to that also. Number 5 is him. Number 4, I have T-Mac, Tim McCready. Number 3, I have, this is as we sit right now, I'm putting Superman, Jonathan Davenport. Number 2, I am putting Hudson O'Neal. And number 1, I'm going with RTJ.
Okay. I don't know if I die in the hill. I'll give you my top 5 here, and then we can discuss it. So number 5, I'm gonna go with the Mac Daddy, Dale McDowell. I get it. He didn't make the show at Talladega. I get it, but he got bounced around kind of like a pinball. 5 of his last 6, so Bert top 4. 5 of his last 6 in the top 4. Flat out dominated at the Gap, right? First driver this year to cash in on $100,000 to win payday. So I'm going to go with Dale McDowell at number 5. At number 4, I'm going to go with Superman, Jonathan Davenport. 3 of his last 4, Bert, have been in the top 4, so he's kind of coming back here a little bit. 5 wins on the year, 13 top 5s. This is typically when he starts hitting his stride. Remember, he kind of struggled. He struggled at speed. He did. Now, there has not been a Lucas. He's following the Lucas series. There ain't been a Lucas race since then, right? So we'll see how that transpires. But I'm going to put Superman here at number 4. At number 3, I'm going RTJ, Ricky Thornton Jr. 5 wins, and he's your Lucas Oil point leader, which they ain't raced since February. So, I mean, I don't know what that matters. He had great speed, but he's been solid. He's been fast. He just had that second place at 411 after starting 16th. Seems like he's coming from the back a lot, right? Does he struggle a little bit, Bert, in qualifying? Does he seem to start a little further back than most? If you look at his starting position compared to a lot of drivers, seems like he's starting deep a lot.
He does seem to start a little bit deeper than some of the other top runners.
So that concerns me, because if you don't qualify well, Bert, I mean, you're going to get on some tracks. Passing is not very easy to do. Got to qualify better. At number 2, I'm going to put the Winfield Warrior, Mike Marlar. 6 of his last 7 on the top 5. Should have won at 411. Got himself up into the fence. But he's been good. I mean, he got second, right, at Bulls Gap in that 100 grand race. Uh-huh. So Mike Marlar, when the money's on the line, he's been really, really good. He's another guy that doesn't commit to a series, right? He might follow that XR deal, but he doesn't really commit, so you just don't know where he's going to end up. And at number 1, Bert, I'm going to put the new deal, Hudson O'Neal. he should have a couple more wins, if not for bad luck. He had another one won here. Was it Eldora maybe or Brown?
Yeah.
So one of them. Yeah, he had one.
Eldora.
He had a tire or whatever. 11 top fives in his last 13 races, 9 of them on the podium and 4 wins. This kid is absolutely, like, when we thought at the beginning of the year, like, I don't think anybody's going to win but a Longhorn, he come back and said, hold my beer. And he like turned that light switch on, that Rocket 1 car, super, super fast. Now, let's go to the flip side of this, right? So you got, you said that you have RTJ at number 1. I got Hudson. I don't think I'd die on a hill, right? I think that I'd be like, I think that we kind of have, for the most part, the same guys in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, our rankings were pretty close to each other, and the only reason I didn't put McDowell in the top 5 is he just doesn't seem to race as much as what these other drivers do. So,
right,
yeah, the other drivers, by racing more, you have more. Obviously, you have more opportunity to do well, but you also have more opportunity to have bad finishes.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So I wish McDowell would race more, but it seems like when he unloads, he's usually a threat.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
So that's kind of our who's hot in the late model world, so to speak. Who's not? Do you have any drivers in mind that you're like?
Well, I mean, this driver seems to be on this list every year. Almost every week. You can probably guess who I'm thinking of.
Brandon Sheppard.
No, I said every year, every week.
Oh, every year. Well, okay. Now who do you
got? The Newport Nightmare.
Poof. Yeah. Dad's not gonna be happy picking on his boy here, Jimmy Owens. He showed some speed at Bulls Gap, but just not the results that he wanted. He's been struggling for sure. I got Brandon Sheppard, Bert.
Yeah,
he's got 33
I would
shows.
agree with that.
33 shows he's raced this year, right? 0 wins. And to add the 5 to the end of the last year, because he won 1 and then he had 5 to end the season that he didn't win. Brandon Sheppard's on a 38 race winless streak.
And I mean, you see what Hudson O'Neal is doing in the Rocket House car and compare that to what Sheppard did last year. Yeah.
he's got to be scratching his head going, what's going on here? And then I have the 2022 World of Outlaw champion, Dennis Erb Jr. Bert, he is on dating back to last year, right? 61 races in a row without parking it in victory lane. Ouch. Now, both of these drivers look like they're going to race some of the Mars Series locally in Illinois here this weekend. So we'll see if maybe one of them, if there was one of these two that's going to win, right, on the Mars races, Brandon Sheppard or Dennis Erb Jr.
I'd go with Brandon Sheppard.
Yeah, I think I probably would too. So, Bert, another question that came in here, right? This one came from a friend of mine, Scott. And we were actually talking. I was rolling down the road. We were talking racing, and we're talking about my buddy Dave. And I love the guy. He's a good dude, right? And I want to see him win. It pains me when he doesn't, okay? But we were talking about his racing. He's ran a couple nights here at Kankakee, and a question came up, right? And his question was, have racers today gotten soft, right? Why are drivers so freaking afraid to scratch the paint? Why are they holding back, right? We were talking about Dave going to Kankakee.
Do you know how much those wraps cost?
Well, the body, this is exactly right? So I talked to a few different people, and the numbers probably vary, right? But if you're to put a new body on a super stock, a street stock, a late model, between the body, the aluminum, the rivets, the plastic, the nose piece, the wrap, what do you think people have into a full body right now? Body bracing?
I would say probably close to $1,000.
Bert, you couldn't even come close to that. It's between $2,500 and $3,000. Okay. Well, that right there explains why people are afraid to scratch the paint. Like, most racers locally are on a budget, right? They're like, we have X amount of money to put into a race car, and that's what we got, right? They don't have the Kyle Larson funds, okay? They don't have that. So somebody shreds the side off a brand new body, and it just costs you $3,000. You're probably going to jail. You're probably, like, are you kidding me, right? So this leads me to a question, right? So if you're in a street stock, if you race locally, I get it. You want your stuff to look good. I get it. Everybody wants their stuff to look good. You try to make your stuff look as good as possible. But is it necessary, right? I mean, if you're racing for $300 to win, $350 to win, would you rather take that $2,500, $3,000 and put it into tires, shocks, carburetor, another set of gears? Or would you rather put a body on that could literally be destroyed in one night, right? So I was talking to my buddy John, and I remember back at Bemidji, home of the Chicken Shack, Northwest Minnesota, right? And let's just say, Bert, that place, the driver's typically a little rough around the edges, not afraid of contact, and it was hard to pass. So you typically leave there going, okay, I got to take the whole body off the car because it's destroyed, right? Well, I remember me and Jeff Hardy back in the super stock days, Proctor rained out. We're like, weather looks good in Bemidji. What do you think? Let's go. Yeah, you know what? We might as well. We're chasing points. Let's see if we can go get a good night. And you know what we did before we left, Bert? We took our new bodies off our car, got last year's bodies, put them on the car, and we're like, I'm bringing a freaking new body to Bemidji. Are you shitting me? That's just not going to happen. We're going to put an old body on, go over there, because then you don't care. You're like, somebody shreds a body, who gives a crap? It's last year's body anyway. Who cares? As long as it's got the same sponsors. Well, why not do that, right? Why not? If your body's in good shape, I get it. You want the stuff to look nice. But if you're going somewhere different, you're not comfortable with, why not put last year's body on, right? And if you shred the body, no big deal. You ain't out nothing. It's last year's body. Who cares? If you're a budget racer, that's a good idea, right? That's a really good idea, because not everybody out there is like freaking Kyle Larson and Bobby Pierce. Literally, they can rip the whole side off their car. And A, they have the money. They don't give a crap. They'll just put a new one on. And B, they're probably going to sell those panels anyway.
I was just going to say, Bobby Pierce will be selling that panel.
Yeah, so they don't care. It don't cost them nothing, right? Local schmoes like me or Dave or whoever, we ain't going to take, this door shredded. You want to buy it? You know, buy your door. What the hell am I going to do that for? Bring it down to the street? Kidding me? No, right? So we don't have that luxury. So I would urge people. We're in a spot right now in dirt track racing where it's so freaking expensive, Bert. It is, and local car counts, everything's struggling. If your body's still pretty good from last year, yeah, maybe change a panel or whatever. Run the old stuff, right? So. Another Tardy story, right? Me and Jeff Tardy went down to Wilmer, Ed Wilson Memorial. I'm still pissed off because he beat me in that one. He got to the rubber before I did. He parked in victory lane. I got second. But my buddy Dan Gullickson was there. Now, Dan, his stuff, Bert, was pristine, nice, right? I mean, he was that OCD. Everything was perfect. And he looked at my car. He looked at Tardy's car. He's like, what the hell's with those shit boxes? Like, the things look like they've been through a shredder. It's like, yeah, but they look cool with feature win stickers on it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's like, we didn't care. We're here to win races, right? You ever seen the movie White Men Can't Jump, Bert?
A long time ago.
Now, you remember the part where Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, they're out on the court and all that. And Woody said, paraphrasing, something like, you'd rather look good and lose than look bad and win. Well, that's the thing, right? So and a lot of people do this, right? They put a new body on their car. They're like, oh man, I don't want to destroy this thing the first time out. They take a freaking hammer, beat the shit out of the whole car, because then you can go race the damn thing. If you're not willing to go all in, right? And like squeeze into tight spots, run the cushion, bang the boards, bounce off the wall, bump and run, whatever you got to do to win the race. If you're not willing to do that simply because you're afraid to destroy the body that just cost you $3,000, maybe you should be looking at not putting a new body on when it's not necessary, right? That's just my thoughts. Now, back in the day, Bert, in Hibbing, I'll come back to Hibbing. Well, we'd get done with the super stock feature, and we'd all be up on top of our trailer. Our most fun race that we wanted to watch, pure stocks, right? And all you late model guys are like, freaking pure stocks, right? And not you, but there's a lot of people. It's pure stocks. A lot of people go home after the late model feature because they're like, oh, the late models are done. Now all that's left is the pure stocks. It was the best race of the night every single night, right? I'm parked on the side of the road here, Bert, doing this show, kind of looking ahead. I saw somebody up there. I'm like, what's going on, right? Just chasing squirrels over here. So, but what I liked about the pure stocks is they could bang off each other. I'm not talking that's flat out yard sailing each other. I'm not talking that. But if there was a tight spot, they were going for the win. They were not afraid to bump and run. They bank off each other a little bit, little contact, right? Might have had a little animosity, but the freaking cars didn't cost that much. It wasn't a huge deal, right? When you got $3,000 into a body, you're not gonna do that. Another thing here, Bert. My buddy Jody Belfi. If you jump on the 2020 page, there's pictures on there. You probably go to his Facebook page. I'm not a fan of red race cars. They make you slow. His modified, Bert, is sexy. I'm telling you, that thing is badass looking, right? But you look at it and you're like, how meticulous. I mean, that thing looks really, really good. The first time somebody peels a side off that and puts a donut down the whole side of his car, he's going to have a heart attack. Like literally, he's going to go mental, right? So, do you have any drivers at your track that their body's not always the best looking car? It's a little tattered, a little beat up, right? But they're fast, right? But they're fast. Sycamore has one of those in the limited late models. There's a guy that the body on his car looks, I mean, it's rough. It's terrible looking, right? But the guy's in the top 3 every night. Why? Because he's not afraid to scratch the paint, right? He's not afraid to scratch the paint. So I got a question for you, and that kind of led to all this, but I want to see drivers, Bert, that have that whatever it takes mentality when it comes to winning. I'm not talking like just going to flat out stuff somebody in the fence. But when you have white flag comes out, there's a couple different drivers battling for the win, right? And that driver's in second. Well, we all know there's certain drivers, if it's kind of one lane, they're just going to follow the guy into the corner and be like, oh, man, if he messes up, I'm going to get him. Most of the time, they don't mess up. You just follow him. The guy gets second. All right, you do you. I wasn't that guy. I was the guy that I was going to do something bold. If they went low, I went high. I might slide job them. Might give them a quarter panel. Might give them a bump and run. Might whatever, right? That's exciting. That's exciting. Fans love that, right? To go on NASCAR. You watch much NASCAR?
I mean, I'll put it on if I'm not doing anything else. I don't plan my day around it.
Now, what if I called you up and I said, hey, Bert, they're under red. Okay, they're at Bristol, Martinsville, wherever, Talladega. They're about ready to go green here in a couple minutes. It's going to be a green, white, checkered finish. Probably going to tune into that.
Oh yeah, I mean that was actually this last weekend that they went into overtime at Talladega. I was going to text everybody in our text group and say, hey, they're going to go into overtime at Talladega.
Do that next time. Yeah, text us. Because why? Because we didn't really care about the frickin' 500 miles of nothingness. But that green, white, checkered, you're waiting to see that driver in second, third. What are they willing to do to win? That's exciting. That's intrigue. That's what the fans want to see. See, the fans right now, people are wondering, why are grandstands empty? Well, because if everybody just following each other on the track, not doing anything bold and exciting, it's literally just watching cars go in a circle. So who are some local drivers, Bert, your area, local drivers, right, that you would pay just to watch them because they have that whatever it takes to go to the front mentality? Like they're going to do something exciting. Who are some people, either from the past or present, regionally, locally, that really come to mind? Because nationally, you got Turbo, Bobby Pierce, Kyle Larson. Them are some people that are going to do whatever the frick it takes, right? But on a local level, who are some people in your area that fit that bill?
Well, I mean, locally, back in the, going back to the late 80s and into the 90s. I mean, obviously MJ, Terry Avalink, and Pete Parker. I mean, those three would, I mean, they had a lot of battles between themselves, and, you know, they weren't afraid to do what they had to do to win. I mean, not, like you said, not take people out, but, you know, put the car where you didn't think they would put the car. Obviously another one, a little bit more recent would be Terry Casey. I mean,
Mr. Excitement himself. Yeah. I had him on my list. Yep.
You know, you wanted to watch to see what he would do, because chances are he would do something to try to win. I mean, he spun out MJ one time at Langley County Speedway in Anigo on the last. They took the white flag, and then going into one, MJ was leading, and Casey got into the rear quarter and spun MJ out, and then they gave the win to MJ, and they called the caution on Casey, and he was all upset because he said MJ was chopping him in the corners, and so so it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, obviously Terry Casey. My current drivers, I mean, well, he does race late models somewhat, and he races stock cars and modifieds, but Mike Mullen, I mean, he's not afraid to drive the high side, low side, middle, wherever. I mean, I think he tends to like driving up on the high side. You
got another one back this year, right? Mitch McGrath is another guy like that, right?
I wasn't thinking of him, but yeah, definitely Mitch McGrath. I mean,
the late models in your area are like, fuck that guy. They don't want nothing to do with him, but he's fun to watch. Something exciting is going to happen for sure.
And I mean, Nick Avalink is fun to watch, but not necessarily because he's a throttle masher. He's more precise in what he's searching the track, looking for the fast way around it. And it's fun watching him search for the fastest groove around the track. You know,
yeah, you don't need to be a body smasher to be fun to watch. I mean, they tend to be a little bit more exciting for your non-typical fan, right? But for somebody like you that watches a lot of racing, yeah, Nick is, but he's technical. He's a technical,
right? Yeah, that would be a good term to use. And another modified driver that's fun to watch is Marcus Yari. He's a he's won multiple track championships in the IMC modified division at Shawano Speedway. And he's not afraid to run the high side. And yeah, as the season goes on, the body on his car is pretty beat up.
Yeah, and that's, so here's some drivers I had Terry Casey in your area, Mitch McGrath in your area, but late model guys in our area. I got Zach Wallers, right, the Jungle Boy. You know, and mostly he just races rapids, but he's going to let it all hang out on the high side. A lot of guys don't like racing against him because he's not afraid to throw a hip check at you, but he's going to be exciting on the chip, on the pump, ready to go. Kevin Burdick, when he was in the Supers, difference between him and Shane Sobraski technical, was not going to touch you. Burdick was going to be like, if it's the difference of winning and losing, I will move you. Like, I'll do what I have to do. I'm going to the front. I like that. Robbins Racing. It's exciting. Modifieds. Johnny Broking and TPO. Buzzy Adams. Andy Jones. Some of those drivers, they are so fun to watch. I mean, a couple of years ago at the Wissota 100, Johnny Broking came from 25th to 2nd. Nobody cared who won. I think it was Dan Ebert, I think. But Johnny Broking came from 25th to 2nd. Slide job in, bank pad, whatever he had to do to get to the front. He's like, I'm going to the front. Like, me and my buddy Jim that pitted for me, we always had a saying, like, we're not here to make friends. We kind of brought our own with. Like, we're not here to make new friends. We're here to win. Racing is not fun. Winning is fun. And we wanted to do whatever it took. Another guy I have in the street stocks, Justin Vogel, the Wolverine. I'm not saying he's going to be the bank board kind of guy, but he's going to be if it's one lane on the bottom, he is going to charge as hard as he can on the high side to see if something can happen. That's fun to watch. Timmy Johnson, a guy that I did not like racing against. I like Timmy, hated racing him because you knew dang well if there's a yellow and he's second or third, I mean, he is going to bonsai it in there, and he might do that turbo slide job and slide job 3 cars at one time. He don't care. He's going to do whatever he has to do. I would buy a ticket to watch Tim Johnson race. Not that I want to race against him, but he was fun to watch. In Alexandria, Jeff Krause got half the crowd boos him. Why? Because he has that hockey player hip check, throw an elbow mentality. He didn't care. Had a couple off years here, but when he's on his game, he's the kind of guy that if you're leading on a restart and Krause is behind you, buckle up tight because he's gonna probably try to move you. Jake Tim, right? Jake Tim's a big slide job thrower. He's fun to watch. So those are the kind of guys that come to mind for me. Like, I want to watch, like, just charge, and I get it, right? I get it. So are the drivers today soft? I don't know if that's necessarily the word. It's just shit is expensive. I bought my first car for $600, right? You can't even build a body it's 5 times that to put a body on and letter it. I get why people are trying to keep the stuff clean.
You're talking body that doesn't even take into account, shocks and all the components underneath the car in case you get into a bad wreck. I mean, back in the day, way back in the day, you could just go to the junkyard and get more parts. It was no big deal. Right. That's not the case anymore when shocks are $1,000 a piece or whatever they are.
Whatever, yeah. That's exactly it. The reason, and that's a dangerous trend racing is on. I don't know how to put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? But the trend is things have gotten so out of hand, expensive, that now people are scared to death to actually race them, like, really, really hard, right? Because they like spent every freaking dollar they have putting together what they have. Back in the day, I mean, way back in the day, like when my dad raced in like his early years, they would literally have rollover contests, and they'd be like, shit, I'm gonna roll over on purpose. You get a free case of beer. Well, them freaking tanks back then, you roll them over down the track, you just go drive it home and race it the next week. Not a big deal. You roll over a car now or hit the wall, it's costing you thousands of dollars. That's part of the problem.
Right.
That does not make the racing more exciting to watch. Like, all this high-tech, expensive nonsense isn't making the sport more entertaining. It's making it worse.
And I think we could add another reason. I hear drivers say this all the time is, I just can't find crew help. So when you have to, if you have to fix your body all by yourself or, with only one other guy, you may think a little harder before you stuff it someplace where you shouldn't, where, if you have a large pit crew, then, it's not that big of a deal to fix it.
Right. You're exactly right. I mean, and that's where a lot of people are. So again, don't know how to make it completely way cheaper, but man, if people have an idea that can really, where people can go out there and race hard and not have to worry about spending thousands of dollars, love to hear it because the sport needs it. So Bert, let's jump on to our weekly picks. Okay. And before we do, a little shout out, Impact Health Sharing. So if you're a self-employed business owner, heck, if you pay for your own health insurance or pay for health insurance for employees or whatever, if you feel like you're paying too much, right? If you're like, man, this is just not working anymore, I might have an alternative for you. I can certainly get you some information, get you a quote, but Impact Health Sharing has a great product. You can go to any doctor. My number, 218-969-1380. Text me, call me, shoot me a message, whatever. I can get you some information. You can look at it. And if we can help you reduce costs there, that'll give you more money to spend on things that you enjoy, like, I don't know, dirt track racing, for example. Let's go there. So last week, Bert, we haven't done this in the past, but we're going to give a little recap here. Last week, we picked a handful of races. We had the Castro Flow Racing Night in America races, both at Eldora and at Brownstown. So at Eldora, Mike Marlar parked it in Victory Lane, the 157. None of us picked them, but Mike, Brad, and Bert, all three of you had Jonathan Davenport. He got fourth. You guys got a point. Brownstown, RTJ parked it in Victory Lane at Brownstown. Come and give him a beat down. Nobody had RTJ. Kent and Jeff had the mailman, Devin Moran. He got third. 1 point to each of them. World of Outlaw late models at the 411, the local guy, Corey Hedgecock. Pretty sure, Bert, nobody picked Corey Hedgecock to win that one. But Kurt picked Dale McDowell. He got fourth, point for Kurt. Talladega, big, sexy Brandon Overton, who almost didn't go. He's like, I don't typically run good there. Kind of said he glad he went because $50,000 richer after that one. Congratulations. Nobody had him, but Brad, myself, and you all had Smoky Chris Madden, who got fifth, and that gave us 1 point there. US MTS Modifieds, night number one, Tanner Mullins. Jeff had Jake O'Neill. He was the highest of the group. He got 1 point for his sixth place finish. Tyler Wolf won on night two. Kurt picked Tyler Wolf. So Kurt was the first of the bunch to actually pick a winner. And then 81 Speedway night three, Jake O'Neill, Brad and Jeff both had Jake O'Neill. And of course, Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models, they just don't race anymore. So Mother Nature won that. And the World of Outlaw Sprints at Knoxville also reigned out. So with that said, Bert, that put our standings at this. Jeff is at 45. Kurt's at 42. I'm at 39. Mike is at 38. Kent and Bert at 34. So you're kind of clawing back into this. I'm not comfortable with that. And Brad is at 33. Dan's at 32. And Not So Hot Carl at 18. This week, Bert, we picked the High Limit Sprint Car Series. They raced, of course, last night. I don't even know who picked who. We'll get into that next week. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, they race Friday and Saturday. Friday at the Tri-City Speedway in Granite City, Illinois. Saturday at the Tri-State Speedway. Way to confuse us, right? That's at Hobstadt, Indiana. The Mars Late Model Series, Friday at the Brownstown Bull Ring in Brownstown, Illinois, not to be confused with the track in Brownstown, Indiana. Saturday at Fairbury and Sunday at Red Hill Speedway. Lucas Oil late models, apparently they don't want to race. Mother Nature already canceled them. It's Wednesday. They canceled today. Bert, the last Lucas race was February 10th at East Bay. Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Are they ever going to race again? Like, I don't know what's going on there. And the USMPS Mods, Hamilton County Speedway, Webster City, Iowa, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So let's jump into the last lap here, Bert. A little shout out to our friends over in Watertown, South Dakota. Dirt Track Supply, home of the Aero chassis. Whether you need tires, safety equipment, parts, fab work done, you need a new chassis for all things racing. Dirt Track Supply in Watertown, great group of people over there. Trevor, Ron, the crew, they do great work and great ambassadors to the sport. They've done a lot for dirt track racing. Give them a call and become one of their customers. You'll be glad you did. So, local tracks set to open. You said Shawano practicing here tonight, Wednesday night tonight. Anybody over in eastern Wisconsin slated to open? What do you think? Mother Nature going to take control again, or what's going on?
Well, I mean, there's Shawano's are also going to have a practice Friday night, and then they're supposed to open Dirt King's opener on Saturday night at Shawano Speedway. 141 is supposed to open, but like I said, the weather forecast isn't the greatest, so we'll have to wait and see if they actually get those races in. Gravity Park did race last week. Beaver Dam raced again. Beaver Dam has 3 shows in already.
Right.
They switched to Tuesday nights this year, and so far that's working out as far as getting races in. So yeah, those are the ones that are set to open this week. Not sure if it's going to happen though.
Yeah, there's a whole slew of Wissota tracks slated to open. A bunch of them already canceled. The weather outside is frightful. Racing would sure be delightful, right? Like, let's cooperate, Mother Nature.
I mean, people in this area, race fans they're just itching for some, Shawano's Speedway fans. They had a they worked up the track, and there's rocks on the track, so they had a rock picking party at Shawano Speedway last night, and Brad said that they had 50 people show up to help pick rocks.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow. I'm telling you what, Brad is good for that place. I'm glad to have him back in Shawano. He did a great job, so I'm excited for that. Now I need to get my butt over there and maybe take in a race with old Bert there. NASCAR World, Bert. NASCAR World, Alex Bowman out 3 to 4 weeks. Of course, he drives for Hendricks, right? And doesn't Kyle Larson drives for Hendricks also, right?
Yes.
So he tumbled last night at the high limit sprint car race, and sounds like he fractured a vertebrae. Looking like he could be out 3 to 4 weeks. Question for you, that happening, right? Kyle Larson races everything, right? You have Chase Elliott had the snowboarding deal. Are we going to see, Gibbs already kind of has a kind of handcuffs on people, but are we going to see it kind of going back to that? We're like, look, we got all these injuries, all the money into the sport. Are we going to see some of these, people like Hendricks telling their drivers that we really don't want you doing that kind of stuff anymore? What do you think?
It's definitely possible, because when a business decides to sponsor one of these NASCAR cars, there's partly what they're sponsoring is the driver. They're sponsoring Alex Bowman, not Josh Berry, who's going to be filling in for Alex Bowman. And he also filled in for Chase Elliott. So it could definitely happen. Like you said, Gibbs has already kind of put the kibosh on his drivers racing in other series.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I hope not, because we all want to see Kyle Larson and company racing these other shows. So we'll see what happens. A little bad news there, Bert. Southern Minnesota, Chateau Speedway, Lansing, Minnesota, made an announcement that it's not looking like they're going to be opening the doors in 2023. Don't know all the details. I think there was a divorce involved. I'm not sure, but some personal matters. But as far as WISSOTA racing goes, the only track in southern Minnesota that has a WISSOTA class is Deer Creek, and they have one, and that's the Midwest Mods. Other than that, in the southern half of the state, there's nothing left. It used to be several, right? And now there's literally one class left in the southern half of the state. And so it's not looking good for racing down there in general, but WISSOTA racing in southern Minnesota, she's slipping away, man. She's slipping away.
Has IMCA stolen all their
USRA?
Oh, USRA. Okay.
Yeah, Deer Creek. Mississippi Thunder's Wisconsin, but you got Deer Creek and Ocassin don't race anymore, right? I think they had one non-sanctioned show. Even Chateau, most of their stuff was USRA. So, and then you get southwestern Minnesota. There's a lot of IMCA southwestern Minnesota. Little news on the Hell Tour, the UMP Dirt Car Summer Nationals late model deal, and they're doing so. The first thing they did, because remember it was spread over like 8 weeks, and it was kind of crazy. They condensed it. It's 5 weeks now. Okay, so there's 5 weeks, but instead of having an overall tour champion, they've actually changed it, Bert, to having 5 separate weekly point funds, where the overall winner of that respective week gets 10 grand.
Well, they are going to have an overall champion, but it doesn't sound like they said they're going to keep points for an entire points,
but the press release said that all of the point fund money, so maybe
right. They're not going to. They didn't mention anything about paying for the overall champion.
Yeah, yes. So there might be an overall champion, right. But all of the point fund money is split between the weeks. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up being good or bad, because I know they struggled in recent years to get a lot of people to commit to following the entire tour.
Well, and even if you do commit, if you get off to a bad start and have some bad races, drivers tend to drop off the tour because they don't have a chance at the big money at the end of the season.
Right. And now every week's a new week, right? Every week's its own entity, and 5 separate weeks, that's 50 grand plus there's other other tow money, like a perfect attendance bonus. So there's other money other than just that. So it'll be interesting. We'll keep tabs and see how that works out here in 2023. And let's close it up with this, Bert. Our 3 bold predictions. So our standings. Well, first of all, let's talk about what came off the board. So each week, you and I are making 3 bold predictions. Sometimes not real bold, but needless to say, they're predictions, right? And we're keeping track of are we wrong? Are we right? What's our percentages? We could call this the Bert's Kick and Ryan Ass segment. I think we could probably just do that. But Bert, you had 2 come off the board last week. Both of them incorrect. You had Chris Smokey Madden winning both 411 and Talladega. Neither one. That was incorrect. You had the point leader in the USMTS. Well, he was. Jason Hughes winning one of the 3 at the Ed Gressel Memorial, and that did not happen. I had one come off the board too, Bert, and that was also incorrect. I had Terry Phillips, who'd been running really good, winning at least one down there, and neither of the old KG veterans found victory lane, so they let us down. So our standings there, Bert, I have 13 correct, 28 incorrect. My percentage right now, 31.7. I guess in baseball, I'm over 300, right? I'm batting over 300. That ain't so bad. You are whooping my tail. You're at 22 correct, 23 incorrect, 48.9%. That's like Hall of Fame numbers there, right? Hall of Fame type numbers. So this week's 3, Bert, I'll let you go first. What's your first one?
Well, my first one, I got to think of a different one that I'll think of by the end, because I was going to say Superman gets shut out in Lucas Oil, but while he is going to get shut out, everybody's going to get shut out.
Correct. I'll just go with Superman will not win this weekend in Lucas Oil races.
So I will go with Jake O'Neill will get 2 wins, win 2 of the 3 USMTS races this week.
Okay. Gosh, I feel like a pussy with what I'm going to pick now. Well, that kind of threw a curve. I think I'm going to stick with what I got. My first one here, Bert. So you have specifically Jake O'Neill. Now, Jeff, write this down. If Jake O'Neill wins 2, Bert gets double points, because that's super specific on him winning 2. That'd be a clean sweep for you. Okay. I have between the World of Outlaws, Mars Lates, USMTS mods, and World of Outlaws sprint cars. Okay. Or World of Outlaws sprints. There's no World of Outlaws Lates. So Lucas Oil Lates canceled. So between World of Outlaws sprints, Mars Lates, and USMTS mods, at least one driver will have a pair of wins this weekend. So maybe it's Jake O'Neill. If he wins 2, we both get a point. You get 2. But in the respective series, one driver somewhere in there is going to win a pair of features.
Okay. I'm going to go locally. IMCA stock car driver Trent Nolan will back up his championship from last year and win opening night at Shawano Speedway. Win the feature opening night at Shawano Speedway.
Yeah, Mullen's going to whoop his ass. But okay, thanks for playing. All right. So that you got that one there. All right. So I have, that's not going to happen because that race is canceled. Okay, let's go with this one here. The high side hustler, Jason Fager, will have at least 2 podium finishes this weekend. Now, obviously, at least 2 of the races need to happen. Otherwise, it doesn't count, right? So I'll clarify that. But Jason Fager will have 2 podium finishes this weekend in Mars Late Model Action.
Okay. This is where I have to think of one quick. I will say I don't know how to quantify this. AJ Demo. Basically, what I want to say is he's going to race more than he did last year. How should I quantify this?
Over and under on a number, maybe.
Okay, let's do that. I'll say, I don't know how much he raced last. I'll say he will race more than 25 shows.
Combined, late and mod?
Just late.
Just late. So AJ Demo will race 25 or more events in 2023 in the late model. Okay. I'm going to go some USMTS action here. There's been 9 different winners, Bert, in 10 races. Okay. This weekend, you'll see at least one of the 3 races won by somebody that has not won a USMTS feature yet in 2023. So there will be another new winner in USMTS action this weekend. So there you have it. There's our bold predictions. We'll see if Bert can continue to give me a beat down here. Hopefully I can gain some ground on him. We'll see what happens. But big thanks to all of our sponsors, of course. Huge shout out to all of them. I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, jump on and look at our YouTube channel. Check out our Blast to the Past episode. And, of course, starting next week when Wissota Racing starts, we're going to have some recap shows and power rankings coming as well. So keep an eye out for them. So, as always, I'm Ryan Aho. That is the Bert Lehman. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.